the voice is the most important and the most precious asset, right? Because it is the voice which actually helps us express all our musical thoughts and ideas. It could be through a song or through exploring a raga, but ultimately it is the voice that we use to translate all our beautiful ideas to the listener. So it is not only enough to understand musical concepts or to learn songs, but equally important to have a well cultured voice, a singing voice, so that we are able to properly express all our ideas to the audience. So welcome to this world of voice culture with me, Pratibha Sarathi. Now you may ask me, why do we need to specifically culture our voice to sing? Why can't we just start singing? Just like how we learn how to speak. We never had any voice training for that. We just kept listening to people speak and we learnt. So why can't we do the same for singing? That's because singing for the voice is not a normal activity. It is a very athletic and a very rigorous activity. It involves a much bigger vocal range. It requires much more stamina, breath control, strength. So we need to systematically train our voice to be able to handle this rigorous activity of singing. We can think of voice training as something very similar to the physical training that we get when we go to the gym or for yoga. Just like how we have a set of warm-up exercises to prepare our body, then we do some light cardio, then we do some weight training to develop strength, then we do some exercises for flexibility, for agility and so on. Similarly, for the voice also, we do a set of exercises which will help us develop various aspects of our singing voice. Now before we talk about the exercises, let's first understand how the singing voice works. The most important component for a singer is called the voice box or the larynx. This is where the vocal cords are present. Usually, the vocal cords are relaxed and open so that air can freely pass through. But when we sing or speak, the vocal cords start coming together rapidly and they cause a vibration. Now when we sing lower notes, the vocal cords are very relaxed, so the vibration is very slow. Now as our notes become higher, the vocal cords get more stretched and the vibration becomes faster. Now these vibrations of the vocal cords, they cannot be heard instantly. They first need to be amplified. Let me give you an example. You have seen a guitar, right? Now in a guitar, below the strings, we see a hollow cavity, right? Now for a minute, let's imagine that this hollow cavity was not there and it was just the strings. Now if we try to vibrate the strings, will you be able to hear any sound? No. But when we have that hollow cavity, the vibrations resonate in this cavity and that finally produces a nice rich sound. Similarly, while singing, the vocal cords vibrating alone does not produce the sound. These vibrations need to resonate in certain cavities in our body and only then we finally hear a resonant rich sound. And that's how we get what we call the chest voice, head voice and all of that, based on where the vibrations are resonating. And depending on where they are resonating, my tone can completely change. For example, I can sing these notes like this. Now the same notes, I can make it sound like or it sounds totally different, right? Although the notes are exactly the same. So that is how important resonance is in the singing process. Now it is good to know these concepts of the vocal registers, but we have to be very careful when we apply it to the Indian music context. Because in Indian music, we use something called the gamaka, right? So when we use gamakas, even in one single phrase, there are so many tones that we might be producing. So it is very difficult to clearly demarcate and say that this note is in my chest voice, this note is in my head voice, and so on. So I always advise my students not to overanalyze these concepts in the Indian context. So instead, let us learn some techniques and exercises that will help us develop a nice balanced voice where we are able to smoothly transition from the lower end to the upper end without any vocal strain. So we need to be equally comfortable singing our lower notes like ah as we are singing the higher notes. Ah. So the effort has to be quite similar, and that comes with using the right technique. Now voice culture training is usually very specific to a particular style of music. So Carnatic music will have its own voice culture techniques. Hindustani music will have its own voice culture techniques. So we cannot just learn one standard formula and apply it to all styles of music. Whichever style of music we are learning, we need to specialize in the voice culture of that style. But before we go into these specialized voice culture modules, there are some basic techniques that are common for all singers, no matter which style you may be learning. For example, how do we warm up our voice every day? How do we sing with an open throat? How do we develop a resonant voice? How do we sing higher notes without straining our voice? How do we avoid the nasal twang while singing? So these are some universal questions, right? So in this course we will be learning some beautiful and very interesting exercises which I have personally been practicing regularly and found them very, very effective. So I am really excited to share my vocal regime with all of you. So come join me in this exciting journey through voice culture, and let's work together and take our singing voice to the next level. So this course is available on the VoxGuru app. So please download the app and subscribe to this course, and let's get started with the journey through the voice.